Hello and welcome to another DVD haul. So I did the game haul the other day. I figured I might as well show off some of the new DVDs I bought as well. So we're going to start with the more expensive one that I picked up just the other day. I saw there was a new animated Batman feature out. I was going to get it and I was like, wait, I haven't bought the last couple that came out before that. So I'm starting to pick back up where I left off and trying to catch up on those. And the first one up, of course, was Justice League Gods and Monsters. So picked that up, checked it out the other day. It's pretty good. Don't know if I'm going to do a review on it. I mean, it is a direct-to-video thing, so I probably could start doing reviews on these. But we'll kind of wait and see how that plays out. I'm still trying to figure out what format I want to use for DVD reviews as far as like showing clips and everything, because there is still the whole issue with fair use and YouTube not really recognizing it, and other platforms that used to recognize it now being closed, sort of. So, yeah. Still trying to figure out DVD reviews, but they will be coming, especially once I get my DVDs back out of storage. Then I'll actually show you guys my entire collection, and you'll see that I'm insane. So, Gods and Monsters. So now I gotta pick up, was it Batman Bad Blood? But the last few times I went to the store, they've been sold out of it, so I'm looking for it. It was always there when I was trying to play catch up or when I didn't have the money to get it, and now I want to get it and it's sold out, so yeah. So when I went to pick that up, right next to it on the shelf was this one, which, again, I may already own this, but with everything being in storage, I don't know. But it was only like $5, so I figured, what the hell, if I already have it, no big deal for $5. And that is the Batman Superman movie, which is the animated one back in the 90s when they had the Batman animated series and the Superman animated series. This was the crossover movie. So I've seen it several times, not 100% sure if I owned it, but now I do. So there is number 2. So then I'm walking around Walmart the other day looking for Batman Bad Blood, which they didn't have, but then I noticed they have a bunch of stuff comic book related on the sale rack out in front of the DVD section. And one of the things, actually two of the things, but they're out of sequence, one of the things that I've been wanting to buy for a while, been kind of waiting for them to drop in price a little bit, which this was probably the lowest I could find it, is the 1966 Batman TV series. This is the complete first season. It was marked down to $12. That's why I picked it up. They also had season 3 marked down to $12. Season 2, which is split up into 2 parts, season 2 part 1, season 2 part 2, those were still $30, and I can go up the street to Target and get them for $20 a piece. So I may pick up season 3 before I get season 2. I think they also had one of the seasons of Arrow, which I don't know if I showed it in a previous haul. I probably did, but my roommates won season 2 of Arrow as a prize when they were out doing something. They gave it to me because they don't watch Arrow or know anything about it. They had seasons 1 and 3 also on that rack, so if it's still there in a couple weeks, I might pick those up as well. We'll kind of have to wait and see. Kind of playing it by ear, paycheck to paycheck. So that takes care of what I picked up at Walmart and or Target. So then I decided I was going to go down to the mall the other day, and since I was right by the place, I was like, hey, let me check into the used video store and see what they got. And I don't know if you can tell here, I got a lot. So they still have their dollar sale going on. They keep extending it because I don't know if they're trying to liquidate a lot of their stock or what's going on, but they constantly have that sale going on. So I was like, well, let me spend like $20-$30 tops, you know. So I'm going around and picking stuff up, and they also have a sale going on that if you buy 3, you get a 4th DVD free. Of course, they charge you the more expensive ones because not everything in the store is $1. Like some of it's like $2-3. So they'll charge you all like the $2-3 ones, and then like they'll give you the 4th one for free, which is usually the lower priced ones, and then everything that's $1 is a separate sale. So those are what they are. They're not included in the buy 1 or buy 4 or 3 get 4th one free deal. So a few of these are the dollar bin, and a few of them are buy 3 get 1 free. So the first one I found, still sticking with the whole comic book thing, And again, it might be something I've already owned because I know I've watched this series before, but I may have watched it on Netflix and not actually owned it. And these are still on my list of older comic book animated series related DVDs I want to purchase. And this one is Daredevil versus Spider-Man. Again, the 90s Spider-Man, the animated series, had a crossover with Daredevil. There's also a bonus episode on here of the 90s, I think early 90s. Yeah, there was a 90s version, then there was a 2000 version of the Fantastic Four animated series where Daredevil crossed over. I also saw a copy of the complete first season of Fantastic Four down there, but I didn't pick it up because it was a little bit more expensive. There's quite a few things down there I actually want to get that were a little out of my price range right now, but if they're still there next payday, I'll probably go back down and buy them. Because they're like complete series type of things, so they're like $30-40. I just didn't want to go overboard right now. So I got that. There is also a Spider-Man versus the Green Goblin version of this and a couple others. I gotta look up and see what all there is. But this is the first one to be added to the collection as far as I know. Again, I may already own one or two of those. This one I picked up. Again, I was trying to fill out my buy 3 get 1 free thing, and I got towards the end of everything. I ended up buying like 2 rounds of that plus like 4 or 5 of the dollar ones. So this one I grabbed just because I'm not 100% sure if I own it or not. I know I own the complete animated series of it, but wasn't sure if I ever picked up the movie version of it. And since I needed something to round out my cart, it was the only thing that was really within my price range at the time that I would want to pick up. There were a few other things I was thinking about, but I was like, if I'm going to pick anything up, it'll be this one. And again, not 100% sure if I own it or not. I probably do, but if not, I now do. And that is Spawn, the live-action movie. Yeah, I may already own this. I know I own the complete animated series that was on HBO, hosted by Todd McFarlane, creator of Spawn. Not 100% sure if I owned the live-action movie, but now I do, and this is the director's cut, even though you can't read it. So, that is now in the collection, whether it was already or not. Okay, this one, again, not 100% sure. I think I own at least one of these, but I'm not positive. I may actually have already bought this. This is something I've been planning to buy for a while. I actually saw it at the other record store that's actually close to my house, not the one that, the place I got these I call the used DVD store, but there's the used record store which also has DVDs. They had this for a while in their bargain bin, and I've been meaning to pick it up. And then when I went back to get it, it was gone, but now I found it down here. And again, it was in the buy 3 get 1 free pile, or on those racks. It was, I think, like $4 for this, but it was worth it because it's not just one movie, it's actually 3. And that is the complete Man Trilogy. Man 1, Man 2, and Man 3. I think I may already own Man 1, possibly Man 2. I can't honestly remember. I may have bought all 3 of them as individual things when Walmart might have had them for $5 a piece at one point. I can't really remember. Again, most of my DVD collection's in storage, so it's hard for me to remember what all I have because I'd never made a list. But if not, I now have all 3. Yay! Actually, I think I may have watched these on Netflix recently too, and that might be why I think I may own them. That's what gets confusing is I'll watch something on Netflix, and then later when I go to buy it, I'm like, wait, do I already own that? Because I know I've seen it recently. So yeah, that may be a Netflix thing that's throwing me off, but either way, I now own all 3 Darkman movies, starring Liam Neeson as Darkman. So anyone who says he's a modern action star, what show was I watching where they were making fun of him being... Oh, it was one of the newer seasons of Family Guy, and Peter was saying that he didn't become a movie tough guy until he was like 60 or 55 or something like that. No, he was an action hero back in his like 30s or so, and he was a superhero. he was Dark Man. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Alright, so this was one I was going to get as the filler of the buy 3 get 1 free, and then I found it on the dollar rack, so I ended up putting the other one that was higher priced back, and that's what left the opening to where I ended up buying Spawn. This one, I really originally had no interest in seeing it, but then I found out it is based on a comic book, so I was like, well, it's a period piece type of comic. It's not a mainstream thing, but I figure what the hell, for $1 I'll check it out. And plus it fills out the comic book movie collection that I'm, for some reason, now obsessing over. And that is Road to Perdition, starring Tom Hanks. Didn't originally know that this was based on a comic book. I was going to watch it back when it first came out because it sort of looked interesting, but then I was like, yeah, I'll get around to it eventually. Never did, and then when I was putting together a list of what movies I still needed for the comic book movie collection, this was on there, and I was like, never knew that was a comic book movie. But for $1, I now own it. Alright. Next up, we're out of the comic book stuff, at least I think. This is one of the movies from my childhood. Well, my teenage years, I should say. I used to love this movie. Never actually bought it on DVD, I don't think. I'm almost positive I didn't. It was on Netflix back when I first created my Netflix account, but there was a problem with the audio. When you start the movie, the music would be playing and you'd hear a guy singing. So anything in the musical track was working, but when it got into the actual movie, when the music stopped and the guys all started talking to each other, there was no audio. And you could see it in the comments on Netflix. People were saying, there's no audio, there's no audio, there's no audio. And then eventually Netflix dropped it without ever fixing it. Which, if they had anyone check that, because that first part with the music and the guy singing, who was also on screen, they probably watched it and like, what are they talking about? It works fine. And if they would have let it play for like 30 more seconds, they would have saw that there was a problem. But yeah, they ended up taking it off. But now I own it on DVD, so I can actually watch it with audio, hopefully. And that movie from my childhood is The Dream Team, starring Batman himself, Michael Keaton, Doc Brown, Christopher Lloyd, a couple other guys. So yeah. This movie came out sometime in my teenage years. I don't remember, maybe 13-ish. And yeah, it's just one of those movies I loved as a kid. Watched it every time I saw it on TV. You know, if it came up on HBO or something, I was like, yeah, watching that tonight. And I hadn't seen it in a long time, and now I have it. So I can watch it whenever I want. So, The Dream Team. Okay, another one from my childhood. Probably one of my favorite movies. I had to put together like a wall of movies that was like things that shaped my life. There's a handful that would be on it, and I think this would be one of them. And I'm not 100% sure why it would be one, because it didn't really do anything to shape my life other than see that, one, it's just an awesome movie, and two, that regardless of people's family situations, everyone's a little screwed up in their own way. I have like a 1% feeling that I do and a 99% feeling that I don't. May already own this one, but I don't think so. I did recently watch it on Netflix before they dropped it, but now I own it on DVD, so I can go back and watch it whenever I want. And that one is Parenthood, starring Steve Martin and one of Keanu Reeves' earliest, if not his earliest, film debut, Joaquin Phoenix, his first movie, I believe, Rick Moranis, Mary Steenburgen, handful of others. You know, it's just a really awesome movie. If you haven't seen it, it's a little bit dated for the period that it was in, but yeah, if you get a chance to watch it, if it pops back up on Netflix, definitely check it out. If you haven't seen it already. If you have seen it, then you liked it, then you're probably from the same era that I am. If you didn't, then you're probably a millennial and just don't understand how things were in the 90s. So yeah, Parenthood. Okay, this one, I'm not even sure how I found this one other than I was just looking through the racks, and I saw the cover and I was like, that seems familiar, but I'm not sure why, and I kind of walked away from it, and then I kept thinking about it as I was looking at other stuff, and I had to stop and go back to it, and I picked it up and looked at the back, and when I was looking at the little photos on the back, I was like, I remember this movie. I don't 100% remember exactly what it's about, but I remember watching it all the time. I remember, obviously, if I was watching it all the time, I must have liked it for some reason, whether it be comedic or whatever. But yeah, after I saw that, I was like, you know what? Let's give it a shot, see if it holds up. So again, another one from my teen years, and that is fast food. Now, some of you might be saying, what the hell is fast food? I've never heard of it. Back in the early 90s, late 80s, there were a lot of fast food movies. There's another one called Hamburger the Movie. I used to have that on VHS, and I lost it, and I don't think it was ever released on DVD, at least not to this point. So yeah. So that one I probably will never find, but this one was a similar thing. It was about a fast food chain, and they're going out of business, and they're going to be bought out by this big conglomerate type of thing. And someone has this secret formula. I forget what it does. I want to say it makes anyone who drinks it horny, because it's a 90s, 90s movies had a lot of horny teenagers having sex. But he dumps the formula into this bottle of secret sauce from the restaurant, and it's either it made everyone horny or it just made it like the best tasting burger ever, or both. I think it was both. So yeah, everyone started buying these burgers because of this secret sauce, and they like break out. If I remember it right, they like start breaking out and having sex like in the middle of the restaurant almost. I don't really remember what else happens other than that. I'm kind of going off memory based just on these 4 little pictures on the back. As soon as I saw this one here where he's dumping the thing in the secret sauce, and then this guy here, I don't know if you can see him. I don't know his name, but he seemed to be in like everything in the 90s. And I saw him and I was like, that's when I was like, oh my god, I remember this. Something on the front cover made me grab it and look at it too, but I don't remember what it was. It's just like, something about that looks familiar. So, yeah, I picked it up. I was like, let's see if it still holds up for what I remember. And, yeah, so you may be hearing something about this. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm planning to real soon, probably on my day off. Instead of going out and seeing other movies and doing reviews on them, I'll be watching this. I won't be doing a review on it, at least I don't think. But yeah, so that's fast food. Okay, so I think that's most of these stuff from my early childhood. So then we start getting into my later teen years, like late high school. This one I picked up just because I haven't seen it in a long time. I wanted to watch it, and I don't believe I own it. And for the price that I paid for it, it's worth picking it up. And that is PCU. So this is another one of those. I don't want to say this is one that shaped my life because I was already like in high school at this point, but this is one that kind of made me consider college when I had no consideration for college in the past. This one kind of, it's like, college looks like it could be fun, even though, there's so many different cliques and everything, and, you just got to find where you fit in, and then you'd probably have some fun. And yeah, something about this just kind of, when I had no real interest in going to college, this kind of just made me like, yeah, maybe it's worth giving it a try. And then I did. I had some fun in college, and I got a worthless degree that I'm now in debt up to my eyeballs trying to repay. But, I wouldn't give it up. I met some cool people there and had fun for what it was, and yeah. So, PCU. So this is another one when I was trying to fill out my buy 3, get the 4th one free. I had my 3, and I was like, okay, what do I What else do I want to get? Because again, like a couple of the movies that I had in that batch, I later found on the other shelf for the dollar price. I guess those ones aren't guaranteed to work, or they're as is. You can't return them or anything like that. So if they're scratched up and don't play, I'm just out a buck, which isn't that big a deal. But yeah, if I can find the movie on that rack, I'll get it instead of paying $3 or $4 for it. So as I'm trying to fill out the last of the buy 3 get 1 free, I was just walking around the store like 2-3 times looking at everything. I was like, yeah, nothing's really standing out. I'd already grabbed Spawn, which was the one that was kind of sticking out to me. Then I saw this one. I was like, I remember watching that. I remember liking it. It's a decent movie. Haven't seen it in a while. Is it worth throwing it into the cart or into the basket that I was carrying? Well, let me look around a little bit more, see if anything else pops out. Walked around a little bit more. Still wasn't finding anything. So I went back to it. I was like, let's just get that one just for the filler. And that is, not to say that it's bad, because it is still a good movie. I would have eventually bought it, but they had like 30 copies of it. Well, maybe not that many. There's like 10 maybe. And I was like, I can pick that up next time, but then since I needed something, I was like, let's just go ahead and get it now, because nothing else was really standing out at this point. And that is Trapped in Paradise, starring Nick Cage, Dana Carvey, and John Lovitz. It has 3 bank-robbing brothers who rob a small-town bank and then get snowed in and get taken in by the mayor and his family. And, it's kind of like a change-of-heart type of movie. They go from being hardened criminals to liking the town and kind of moving in. Kind of like along the lines of like not really Chevy Chase's Funny Farm. Because he ended up not really he liked the town, but the town didn't like him, where this one is kind of the opposite. They want to get out of town, but everyone's being nice, and then they just kind of like it there. Yeah, so for a free movie, why not, right? Even if I had to pay a couple bucks for it, it's still, like I said, I would have bought it next time I went down there, because they had at least 10 copies of it, so I'm sure they'll have a couple next time I go down. But yeah, so that is Trapped in Paradise. Okay, this one I grabbed because it's missing out of all the other ones I have. And that is a three evening with Kevin Smith, or sold out a 3 evening with Kevin Smith. So I already have an evening with Kevin Smith and an evening with Kevin Smith 2, Evening Harder. I've been trying to find the third one for a while. I think I actually already watched most of this on YouTube, because it's broken up into sections on YouTube, and I think I've watched most of it. But I own the other 2, and I don't own this one. So I've been looking for it, and the only place I could really find to buy it is on Kevin Smith's actual website. But he still wants like $20 for it or something like that. Or I think it's like $14.99, something like that. I'm like, yeah, it's worth it, but if I'm going to buy that, I want to kind of buy a few things that I'm missing off of there, one of which was Vulgar, which I got in my last set. So this was kind of the only thing really missing from the Kevin Smith collection, other than his more recent ones like Too Fat for 40 and Burn in Hell, which I've seen both of those, but I don't own them yet. But as far as the original Evening with Kevin Smith before he started doing all the Q&As all the time and all that, these were the originals, and this was the one I was missing. So they had it for like $3, which is better than buying it for $15 off his website. So I now own that. Okay, so this next one, speaking of Kevin Smith and owning just about everything that he's put out, there were a handful of movies that he produced through View Askew, his production company, that he didn't write or direct, he just produced them. One of them being Vulgar. The other ones were Drawing Flies and Big Helium Dog, and I think there was one other. Then there were a few movies that he played a part in, and I think this was one of them, although this could be the 4th one that I'm thinking of. But anyway, I know that I heard him say on one of his podcasts that they had just recently re-released this on DVD again. but I hadn't seen it on any store shelves, but they had it in the dollar section. So I was like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, you know what, for $1, let's get it. I may have seen this a long time ago because the cover looks familiar, but I honestly don't remember it. But since it's filling out the Kevin Smith collection, sort of, I grabbed it anyway. And that is Catch and Release. So there you can see Kevin right there. I think this is the one where he says, some critic said that he was the one ruining factor of this movie. He gave like his worst performance ever, and his character destroyed this movie. But we'll see when I watch it. Okay, sorry about that. I dropped the DVD and it hit the keyboard and stopped recording. So now I have no idea how long this video is. But yeah, so Catch and Release. We'll see how bad his performance is when I actually get a chance to sit down and watch this. But that is Catch and Release. And that brings us to our last one, which I'm glad because I think before the video stopped recording, it was at like 28 minutes. So I'm going to try and keep this under a half hour. But the final one is Stallone's Rocky Balboa. So this was basically Rocky 6. It's the only one in the Rocky series I haven't seen. I've seen 1 through 5, and I've seen Creed. But going into Creed, I knew basically what happens in this, but I'm missing that part of the story as far as like how Rocky got from here or from 5 to Creed. Again, I know basically kind of what happens in this for the most part, but I've never seen it, so this was another one that was in the dollar rack. So for $1, I get to see the one Rocky I haven't seen. I was gonna say didn't own, but I'm not 100% sure if I own all 1 through 5. I think I might have bought a collection one time that was Rockies 1 through 5, but not 100% sure because again, it's one of those ones that's in storage and I have no idea what's in there anymore. So yeah, Rocky Balboa. And that is all of my new DVDs. At least for now. Like I said, I will be going back down there probably next payday, grabbing a few other things. There was another movie from my childhood that I sort of remembered, but I couldn't remember the name of for the longest time. And then when I was watching some of these older movies, it actually had a preview for that movie on one of the DVDs that I previously bought. So then when I remembered, I was like, oh, cool, maybe I'll see if I can find that at some point. As I was walking around looking for movies, they did have it. I just happened to see it, and I was like, oh my god, they actually have it. Unfortunately, they wanted $40 for it. For one movie that came out in the late 80s, early 90s. You know, they do that sometimes with some of their movies. Like, they realize how rare it is to find it, and they jack the price up. The first time I went to this store, they had a copy of the Supergirl movie on DVD. But they wanted like $40 for that one too. And I was like, you know, as much as I want that movie, because it is one of the ones that's missing from my collection, it is very rare to find it, I can't justify paying $40 for it. Same with this one. I can't justify paying $40 for this. Like I said, there's another one down there I want to get that's like a full season of something. So that I can kind of see paying like $30 for, because I think that's what Walmart was selling it for, but Walmart doesn't have it stocked anymore. Target doesn't have it stocked anymore, but they did. But they had like 7 copies of it, so I'm sure it'll still be there next time. But for a single movie that might not even hold up as well as I remember it, yeah, $40 is a lot. But we'll see. It might end up in my collection. But honestly, that's not $40 isn't as bad to spend on a movie as for those of you who are familiar with Knight Rider. They had the TV series back in the 80s and 90s, and then they put out a couple straight to television movies. Not even well, they might have been miniseries, I don't remember. But they were trying to like revamp the series, like new designed car and stuff like that. And they had the original TV movie pilot for one of the remakes. I don't remember if it was Knight Rider 2000 or it might have been like Knight Rider 2005. But they wanted $80 frickin' for this thing for one movie, maybe a 4 or 5 part series. But yeah, it's basically a pilot movie. Like I can't even think of one to compare it to. But yeah, it'd be like if you bought Serenity, which isn't necessarily a pilot movie, but it's similar to the pilot episode of Firefly, at least from what I remember of the pilot episode of Firefly, which was already 89 minutes long in itself. It'd be like if you bought Serenity for $80 because it's the pilot episode of... Because imagining that it was the pilot episode of Firefly. Would you pay $80 for Serenity? I know I wouldn't. I don't care how rare it is. But yeah, so this store's a little wonky like that. If they know they got something that's kind of rare and hard to find, they'll jack up the price on it. But I'm honestly surprised. Parenthood's kind of easy to find. Dream Team, I was honestly expecting to pay more than that. Fast Food, if they actually knew how rare of a film that was to find, that probably would have been like $40. But yeah, so I'll go back down there at some point and get a couple more things. Like I said, there were other things that I wanted to get, but I was trying to stay under a budget, and I was trying to avoid things that they had multiple copies of, because those will probably still be there next time. But in the meantime, that is it for this episode of DVD Haul. Probably going to be more movie reviews coming up after this. Not 100% sure what order I'm going to be going to see things, but I'm definitely going to see some things this week, hopefully. So yeah, until whatever comes up next, again, as always, thanks for watching. Remember, like, comment, rate, subscribe, and share the video. That also lets me know that you like these and you want to see more of them. And then I can go waste all my money on 10 views. Yeah. Which honestly is my highest rated view right now, sadly. Except for Rift Tracks. Rift Tracks usually gets me like 40. Thanks, Rift Tracks. So anyway, again, thanks for watching. Until next time, we'll see you on the next DVD haul.